to Weekly World News on SpringNectar TV, brought to you by Vibha Ramesh, Los Angeles, United States. First, the top headlines. Biden opines that addressing U.S. inflation would take time. Shooting at elementary school. India's Covaxin to resume clinical development. U.S. FDA lifts hold. Britain cuts humanitarian aid by 51%. Food crisis persists. Public transport opened as part of phased reopening in Shanghai. 16 countries on Saudi Arabia's travel ban list. Moving on to news in detail. United States President Joe Biden made a visit to the farms early this week and concluded that the Russia-Ukraine war has had a cascading effect on food supplies. He also blamed Putin for destabilizing food supplies at a global level. This has in turn hiked the cost of groceries to unbelievable levels. In his words, he said, "Right now, America is fighting on two fronts. At home, it's inflation and rising prices. Abroad, it's helping Ukrainians defend their democracy and feeding those who are left hungry around the world because Russian atrocities exist." Although there has been consistent growth in the job market, the Americans are still pessimistic about the economy. With midterm elections coming up in November, Biden is talking a lot about the economy and the increasing inflation. He said that this is going to be a haul. This is going to take some time. It's very unfortunate that barely 10 days after the Buffalo shooting incident, there's been one more, this time in Texas. What's even disconcerting is that the assailant opened fire in an elementary school. An 18-year-old opened fire in Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, taking away the lives of 19 students and 2 adults. 3 others are being treated in the hospital and are currently in a serious condition. The assailant was shot by the police on campus and his motive is still unknown. Following the ghastly incident, President Joe Biden delivered his remarks as he stated, "I had hoped when I become president I would not have to do this again." Another massacre. "To lose a child is like having a piece of your soul ripped away," he said. "There's a hollowness in your chest. You feel like you're being sucked into it. You're never quite the same." Meanwhile, on Tuesday, at a meeting in Tokyo, Joe Biden and leaders of Japan, India, and Australia reassured their dedication to a free and open Indo-Pacific region. Biden also confirmed that the administration's policy on Taiwan remains unchanged. As he stated, "The policy has not changed at all. I stated that when I made my statement yesterday." Moving on to India, the hold on Phase 2 and 3 clinical trials of Covaxin was lifted by the US FDA on Monday. The FDA had put the trials on hold this April after an inspection team reported manufacturing deficiencies in the Bharat Biotech's COVID vaccine. To that effect, Ocugen made the announcement as Dr. Shankar, CEO, chairman, and co-founder of the U.S. Partner for Vaccine Manufacturing, stated, "Ocugen will now work with study sites to fully resume this clinical development program immediately. We're extremely pleased that we can proceed with our clinical trials for Covaxin, our whole virus inactivated COVID-19 vaccine candidate. The need for delivering an additional differentiated vaccine option, we believe, remains a priority." Meanwhile, the nation went on a nationwide strike on Wednesday, called for by the All India Backward and Minority Communities Employees Federation. The demands of the federation included reservations for the backward caste in the private sector, resumption of the old pension scheme, and implementation of dedicated electorate in OBC reservation, among others. Over to the UK, the sudden outbreak of monkeypox across the globe has prompted the UK Health Security Agency to issue a health advisory to its citizens. To that end, the UK HSA has urged pregnant women, immunocompromised people, and children under 12 to avoid any contact with infected or high-risk people. News has it that at least 19 countries, including the US, UK, and Spain, among others, have recorded confirmed cases of monkeypox. The first case of monkeypox in the UK was recorded on May 7, and today it has increased to 78. Commenting on the outbreak, Dr. Susan Hopkins, the chief medical advisor at the UK Health Security Agency, said, "Alongside reports of further cases being identified in other countries globally, we continue to identify additional cases in the UK. Thank you to everyone who has come forward for testing already and supported our contact tracing efforts. You are helping us limit the spread of this infection. This unusual outbreak has sparked a wave across the globe, and contact tracing is executed promptly in all countries with confirmed cases. According to health officials, monkeypox is a viral infection which spreads via close contact, usually through respiratory droplets or shared bedding. According to the CDC, respiratory droplets generally cannot travel more than a few feet, so prolonged face-to-face contact is required. Other human-to-human methods of transmission include direct contact with body fluids or lesion material and indirect contact with lesion material such as through contaminated clothing or linens. On the other hand, at a time when the global food crisis is the #1 concern and, as some people put it, the worst moment in history, Britain chose to cut its foreign aid budget by 51%. With Kenya, Somalia, and Ethiopia facing acute drought and food shortage, charity campaigners are of the opinion that the aid budget needs to be increased with immediate effect. Said the MP Labour chair of the Commons International Development Committee, it would be hard to consider a worse moment in history for the government to be cutting its foreign aid budget. We are the only member of the rich country G7 grouping to be doing so. It is having a damaging effect on our international standing and the survival chances of some of the poorest people on the planet. And in Canada, powerful thunderstorms packed with the devastating energy of a tornado rocked the two populous provinces on Saturday. The storms that hit Ontario and Quebec lasted for over 2 hours and took away the lives of at least 9 people. Rescue and cleanup operations started promptly, which also ensured the partial restoration of power supply. Sources say that power restoration operations will continue for several more days until it is restored to the other parts of the provinces. Prime Minister Trudeau tweeted on the situation saying, "We're thinking of everyone affected and thanking the crews who are working to restore power." Meanwhile, in Shanghai, as part of the phased reopening, the government gave the green light to resume operation of some public transport. The move is one step closer to resuming a normal lifestyle after 2 months of lockdown due to COVID outbreak. That said, commuters would need a compelling reason to use public transportation as most residents are still under the stay-at-home order. News has it that the lockdown in Shanghai has had a rippling effect on consumption and industrial output. Here's the voice of an average Chinese worker that resonates with the majority of workers in Shanghai. Work stopped on March 16. Is the lockdown really lifting or not? It's not very clear. On the global front, Kristalina Georgieva, the head of the International Monetary Fund, warned the people of a global recession if the situation caused by the Russia-Ukraine war worsens. In her words, as she remarked at the Global Economic Forum, "We can shrink the use of petrol when growth slows down, but we have to eat every day. The anxiety about access to food at a reasonable price globally is hitting the roof." Further, in response to whether the IMF was hinting at an impending recession, she said, "Not at this point. It doesn't mean one is out of the question." Moving on, Saudi Arabia is in the midst of yet another COVID outbreak and cases are on the rise. Subsequently, the government has issued a travel ban to its citizens, prohibiting travel to 16 countries, including India, Syria, Indonesia, Venezuela, and Afghanistan, among others. That apart, the kingdom also confirmed that there are no cases of monkeypox as of date, and that its presence or spread is being monitored by health experts. To that end, the Deputy Minister of Health for Preventive Health stated that until now, cases of transmission between humans are very limited, and therefore the possibility of any outbreaks occurring from it, even in countries that have detected cases, are very low. Before we end this report, here's this week's Did You Know? Did you know of the tiniest reptile that exists on Earth and that it was discovered just last year? For those of us who believe that almost all things in this universe have already been discovered, this comes as news. In 2021, a teeny-weeny chameleon measuring just 28.9 millimeters was discovered in Madagascar. According to the scientific reports which published the discovery, the snout vent length of the male chameleon of the species measures 21.6 millimeters and that of the female measures 28.9 millimeters. While you may want to look that up, I'll end this news bulletin. I'll see you again next Friday with more world news on Spring Nectar TV. Stay safe.